Hey guys, Vycery here and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna do something different. I'm gonna attempt to rank every single monster in Sunbreak with Title Update 2 based on my experience of the fight and how I like them overall. This is based on my opinion. If you have a different one or you disagree, leave a comment down below and we can discuss. Take this with a grain of salt. This is more of a speedrunner perspective. Alright, let's get started. Let's talk about Great Izuchi first. I would rank Great Izuchi in C tier. It's just a normal low rank monster, there's nothing amazing to it. But when it comes to afflicted parts, I think Great Izuchi is the easiest one to get the afflicted pelt and all those materials in that category. Moving on to Kuluyaku, that's a D tier, it's just chicken with a stone. In Master Rank he freaks out a bit much. Great Rogi, same problem, jumping around, poison everywhere. Same category as Izuchi and Kulu with the afflicted parts, nothing special there. Great Buggy, same thing, a lot of sleep. But still, out of this whole category, Great Izuchi is by far the easiest for me to farm afflicted parts, so this one is a little bit better than the others. Azuros, D. I highly dislike this monster, and speaking of Azuros, Apex, same thing. The problem with this is that the hit zones, especially for ranged, are very bad. Hitting the head, which is very small, is difficult. With melee it's the same thing. Maybe a little bit better, but especially Apex Azuros with ranged is very bad to fight. I just don't enjoy it at all. In the same category we have Lagombi, and I don't like Lagombi. Also a Fanged Beast, sliding around like crazy, difficult to hit the head. And for the afflicted parts, there is a better monster for this. And speaking of it, Volvidon. A lot of people don't like Volvidon, but there's one simple trick you can do. When you stay fairly far away, he will always roll towards you. If you hit him with enough damage doing that, he will always topple backwards. And with this little trick, Volvidon becomes far more manageable. Even the afflicted one. So if I want to farm afflicted monster bone, I always go for Volvidon. Ludroth. Ludroth is a fairly straightforward monster, I put it in C tier. It's not that difficult, it's an okayish fight. It's a pretty low rank monster. Nothing more to say. Let's go to Pookie. Pookie is basically the same as for Ludroth, straightforward, a little bit of poison here and there, fairly good hit zones, not a bad fight. Bishaten. Normal Bishaten is okayish, not the best new addition, but also not the worst. When it comes to afflicted parts, I would rather do Bishaten than everything else. And speaking of that, Blood Orange. Blood Orange Bishaten is a better fight in my opinion. It has better hit zones. I find the fight fairly enjoyable. Next up we have Bazelgeuse, easy D tier, nobody likes Bazelgeuse, shitty hit zones. It's dragging out way too much, especially with the rage multiplier, where when he is enraged, he takes 20% less damage from all damage sources. I really don't like fighting Bazelgeuse. Next up, Agnusom. I would put Agnusom in either D or C tier. I don't enjoy the fight that much. It's just a low rank monster, but I think I put it in C tier just because the weapons are fairly okay. The afflicted version, I don't want to fight this at all. There are better monsters to fight in the same category. Next, Kezu. Kezu is okay, it's not that bad of a fight. It's kind of enjoyable in some way, especially when he clutches onto the ceiling. So I will put it into B tier for now. Maybe that will change with more additions. Bear off. Fairly easy fight, but nothing super special. It's straightforward. Tetranodon. It's a okay fight, especially in Master Rank, where you can get a fairly easy topple right at the start when he eats and you break it. That's it. Daimyo. I like Daimyo. It's a really good fight. It could be a little bit harder, especially after the first quest you do, but the fight is fairly enjoyable for me. He has very good hit zones, a very good matchup for thunder weapons in general. He doesn't do a lot of bad moves, they are fairly telegraphed, you know what he's doing. Speaking of crabs, Shogun. Shogun I think I will rank in B tier at the very top. It's not as good as Daimyo in my opinion, because he can still do some bad moves. The circle around you and then stab you with his claw. That's just too fast to react to it normally, especially when you are locked into an animation. But it's still a better fight than most monsters. Rathalos. That's a C tier. It's an okay fight if he's out of the mud. If he's in the mud, it's atrocious. Somnakant. Somnakant is actually a good fight, the regular one. It has a lot of topples, the hit zones are not bad. It's enjoyable, but not the best of the best. Aurora, the worst monster in the game. I highly dislike it, I will never fight it again. I think I fought it only 5 times or something. The weapons are really good, the monster is just really bad. Having multiple ticks on your Novas, doing stuff I cannot see what it's doing, I highly dislike this. Next up, Rakna-Kadaki. Rakna-Kadaki is a good fight, it has good hit zones, well telegraphed, the weapons are okay, and there's nothing more to say. Gawangolm. I think Gawangolm is a good fight, I would rank it above Blood Orange. The only problem I have with Gawangolm is the quest difficulty. He is praised as one of the 3 lords, so I would have liked that he's more difficult. Right now he is more of a low rank monster. The fight is still enjoyable. The mechanics are good. I like that he is able to get blast and water. The fight is good, the moves are well telegraphed, I know what he's doing, and that's it for Gawangolm. Moving on to Rathian. Rathian is just the overall good fight. It's a well-made monster. The tail swing, you can evade it, you can block it, you can dunk Rathian out of the air. The head hit zone is good. And one of the best things Rathian has is the rage multiplier of 20%, so it takes more. In contrast to Bazelgeuse, Rathian takes more damage when it's enraged, and I like that. Apex. Apex Rathian is my favorite Apex in the game. New moves, of course, the addition of Venom instead of normal poison, and Apex Topple. Gold. The problem with this is the hit zones are bad. There is no point when she is not in her Hellfire state that you can proc Weakness Exploit. The head is too difficult to break. You need tons of damage to break the head, and in most cases, if you break it, it's already in Hellfire, so it doesn't make a difference. I don't like Gold Rathian that much. Rathalos. I think Rathalos in Sunbreak got way better. It's way more of a threat. In Mastering it flies less, which is a good thing. But still there are some moves like the tail swing, which in my opinion come out too quickly. You barely have time to react to it. But overall, it's a good fight. I had trouble the first time I encountered Rathalos in not even in Sunbreak, in regular base rise, and I liked it. Of course, next up we move to Apex Rathalos. It's an okay-ish fight. The problem I have with this are the hit zones for ranged. That it shifts from head to back when he's not in Apex is weird. His attacks are okay. His big Nova is awesome. Overall an okay fight, not better than normal Rathalos, but still kind of enjoyable. And of course the last one, Silver Rathalos. I highly dislike it, not more than Aurora or Bazelgeuse, but I dislike the fight. The same problem with Gold Rathian, the head is way too hard to break. He's spazzing around too much in my opinion. His Nova is cool, but Iceborne made it better in my opinion. Alright, Naga-Kuga. Enjoyable fight, maybe more enjoyable than Kazu, but the same thing applies here. Ranged weapons get the short end of the stick, with no good part where you can activate the weakness exploit. For melee it's okay, there's nothing to complain there, but for ranged it could be better. But overall enjoyable fight, he's not jumping around too much, he has fairly good openings, and with the recent nerf to the tracking, his tail slam doesn't feel that unfair anymore. Next up, Barioth. Barioth I would rank in B after Naga-Kuga. He's a good fight, he has a lot of topples. He has the head topple, he has the wing topples. Weapons are not the best. His armor is good, for longsword especially. The afflicted version is basically the same, and the new move, the new addition in Master Rank is okay. I would have liked if there's a little bit more time between the two attacks, after his tail slam and then dragging it back, but that's just nitpicking. Let's move to Anjanath. Anjanath I never really liked. It's okay. If you happen to have a big Anjanath, you will have problems hitting the head. It's a bad design that if he has a topple on his head, you should be able to hit it consistently, which for Anjanath is not the case. Some of his hitboxes are really bad. I think Mizu is a good fight, especially with Pierce Bow. Mizu in general has two natural topples, which is one the head break, the second one the bubble topple. And based on those, that every weapon can get those two topples. The hit zones are good throughout the body. I think Mizu is good how it is. And speaking of Mizu, I will bring myself now in hot water. Violet Mizu. Sure, it's a fire Mizu, there are new attacks, but the same things apply here. You have the head topple, you have the quote-unquote bubble topple. It has new moves, sure. It's a fire version now, but to me it just looks more like a reskin than an actual different monster. Let's move to Espinas. Espinas I fairly enjoy. When it goes in rage, you get very good hit zones. Only problem with this is that out of rage the hit zones are not great at all. Especially the afflicted one is where that becomes more of a problem. I deal no damage. There should be a reward by popping the afflicted state, but it just feels there is no reward. Flaming, I have the same problem with Flaming as with Violet, it just feels like a reskin. There are some additions to moves. Sure, there is a Nova. There is not much difference, it behaves the same as regular Espinas. It gets enraged, it becomes good hit zones. One bite of his even hits you 2 seconds after the bite is done, which is basically a lingering hitbox, and I do not enjoy that. Next, Lucent. Lucent is enjoyable and I would rank it above Mizu. The whole mechanic that it becomes translucent is a new twist to it, but kind of irrelevant when you discover that there's focus camera. So you can always just press a button and lock onto him even though he's invisible. I enjoy the fight, but the focus camera trick defeats Lucent in a way. Let's get to Apex Mizu. Apex Mizu again. It's an okay fight, I wouldn't like it that much. It's regular Mizu with Hellfire bubbles, not that big of a difference. Tigrex. Tigrex is good, it's a good fight, I enjoy it. Good hit zones, well telegraphed. Again with the recent nerfs to the tracking. The running is fairly easy to evade now. I don't have that many problems anymore. Overall, a good fight. Diablos, same thing. Nerfs to tracking. The only thing that bothers me on Diablos a bit is not really Diablos related, more monster related. Sometimes he just runs off, attacks the Daleks and runs back. That's a problem for me. But keep in mind, this is all my opinion. You can disagree. Moving on to Seregios. Seregios is really good. He is fast, but he has lower health than other monsters. He has topples, he has unique mechanics with the bleed. Overall, I think Steve is a fairly good addition to Sunbreak. Apex Diablos. Apex Diablos makes the Diablos fight more enjoyable for me. The fact that the head becomes a better hit zone, so every weapon can hit the head better, is a really good change. His attacks are okay. Apex topple again, overall good. Almudron. A lot of people don't like Almudron. I have to say I enjoy it. It's not the best fight, but it's also not the worst. Sometimes you don't know what he's doing. I have the problem as well. But he is okay. He has multiple topples, head topple, ball break topple. He's well telegraphed. For example, his pillar state, when he summons the pillars. Every time you deal enough damage, he will topple. I think that's a good addition. You get rewarded by doing something. Overall, an enjoyable fight for me, but not the best, again. And speaking of Almudron, Magma. Magma is kind of a mixed bag. I would rank it above normal. It's because he's animation locked. When he goes into the ground and for the first time and he summons his rocks, there's nothing you can do to get him out of the ground, from my experience. I cannot KO him, I cannot para him, nothing will get him out of there. The hit zones are good. The only question is, why not bring Agnaktor? It's like the same mechanic. Gosharak, he's a really good addition to Sunbreak or Rise in general. His mechanic to have ice blades that take good damage, that can cause topples. It's overall a good fight. The fact that he changes color when he's enraged is a little, that thing is a little bit confusing, especially in the afflicted state. When he's red overall and he becomes more red when he's enraged. Sometimes you don't know what part to hit because it's just a red clump. But he deals a lot of damage and he has a pimp walk. Enough said. Astalos. Astalos I don't like that much. The problem with Astalos is he needs to be charged so you can deal good damage. The easiest way is to do with a shock trap. But the afflicted one is where the problem lies. When you pop the afflicted, he always goes out or loses all his charged up parts. And then again, you deal no damage. And then you have to wait again until he charges up, which is just a dread. Next up, Zinogre. Nerfs to tracking makes the paw very easy to deal with. The hit zones are okay, especially for range. The head is really good. Afflicted Zinogre is okay, not that big of a difference, only that you will see the charged up state, which is more dangerous, but that's the point of it. Apex. Apex I don't like that much. It's to me just a regular Zinogre with some more moves, more dangerous, not my type of thing. Magala. I don't like Magala, not at all. He's running around like crazy, he's jumping around, he becomes more manageable when he is in his frenzy state, but in the normal state he is for me really bad to fight. His weapons are okay, his armor is really good with Bloodlust, but normal Magala, not my thing to fight. His evolved form Shagaru, on the other hand, is a good fight. Sometimes his claws are a little bit too quick, but overall he stays more in place, it's more easy to hit the head. He has very well telegraphed rage forms, he has telegraphed topples, overall a good addition. Let's move to Bazel. Bazel is also a mixed bag, especially for ranged. If we talk about melee, he would be in A tier, for ranged he would be in C for me. So I will put him above Gao Gorm in B tier. His enraged state is really good for melee. The problem I have are the bombs. You know when he's doing that attack, you know where the bombs will be. But every time I block one of his attacks and I try to do a counter, a bomb will explode behind me and throw me completely off. Seething is, in my opinion, way better than normal Basil. The addition of the new 2 topples by breaking the head and breaking the tail state, and he will roar again. It's very well made. I enjoy this fight way more than regular Basil. If there would be an afflicted version of Seething, I would do him instead of the other monsters. Next, let's move to Rajang. Normal Rajang, no. The problem with Rajang is in base rise, he was way too slow. There were way too many openings. They robbed him of everything. In master rank, they completely did a 180. He is way too fast. He has no openings. Even getting him out of rampage state doesn't provide you with a topple anymore. They kind of overdid it. But on the other hand, you have Furious, which is a way more enjoyable fight. He has more openings. He is more telegraphed. You know what he's doing. He has actual topples again. Furious is the better Rajang. Let's go to the flagship, Magna Malo. Magna Malo, I would say, is an A tier. I enjoy the fight, easy to see what he's doing. Some hitbox issues here and there, especially with the tail set, but that got fixed now. Overall enjoyable. And let's go to my first S tier monster, which is Scorned. Scorned is really good. He has topples, he is dangerous, he has good hit zones. I overall really enjoy this fight. This is really the flagship right there. Rakna-Kadaki, I don't enjoy it that much. And here the problem is again the hit zones. No weakness exploit on the legs, even though most of the time Ragnar will spend with threats on the legs. Overall it's an okay fight. The mechanic that you can break the string and get a little topple out of it is a good addition. For me, the better Rakna-Kadaki is Pyre. Better hit zones, sometimes explosions are a little bit too much, but I like Pyre more than normal Ragnar. Both of them have the same problem, they have way too much health. Especially the afflicted ones, it just takes ages to kill one of them. I think they could fix that by just reducing the health a little bit. Pyre is more enjoyable than normal Ragnar. Lunagaron, and this is clearly another S for me. The afflicted one is fairly easy to fight, so even though Lunagaron has its ice armor, when you pop the afflicted one it keeps it, and the scream alone when Lunagaron goes into the ice armor state is top notch. And now we move to the Elder Dragons. First thing, Marzino, clear S. It's a very enjoyable fight. The whole premise of the Curio, the Blood Blight, the whole vampire thing really works well with Marzino. In the demo already, the moves were very well made. You know what he's doing, you know when he's doing it. He has a lot of tiny openings, a lot of ways to counter his attacks and get the counter off in time before he moves again. It's a very enjoyable fight. Chameleos. Chameleos I have to rank in C. I don't enjoy the fight. There's poison everywhere. He's doing his tongue things. I don't really enjoy it that much. And Risen Chameleos is the same thing. He got some new moves, some new tweaks here and there, but overall it feels to me like a normal Chameleos with some special moves. He's more aggressive, but I just don't like Chameleos in general. Kushala on the other hand, they made Kushala better in Rise and Sunbreak. He doesn't fly that much anymore. He's more onto the ground. The problem I have with Kushala in particular, with especially Bow, is again the weakness exploit. It's not usable only on the forelegs, which are not that easy to hit. For melee he's very well made. I had no problems at all fighting him with lance, so B tier it is. Teostra. Teostra I would rank as same as Kushala. Enjoyable fight. If you have Blast, Teostra you're gonna suffer. If you have Fire Teostra, it's okay. You still have head topples, you still have the head break topple, the new addition of the Elder topple. It's not a bad fight, but if I had to choose, I would rather fight something else. Let's move on to Crimson Glow. Crimson Glow is also a mixed bag. I would rank it in A tier. The problem with Crimson Glow in Base Rise was it's kind of a gamble when he does the intake. Going elemental on Valstrax is not a good idea if you can not keep him out of rage. In Master Rank they improved it a lot in my opinion. Telegraphed intakes, a lot of damage, a lot of topples you can get. The wings are now more accessible with the new switch skills. The only thing I really dislike on Valstrax are the dragon explosions after. I have no indication when they are going off, so I have to basically go in blind and dodge or block. That's the only thing I have to complain about. Next up, Ibushi. Ibushi is okay. There's not a lot to say about Ibushi. It's a long fight, but the hit zones are okay. The fight itself is okay. There are moves you can evade easily. There are moves you cannot evade that easy. It's okay. Nawa. Nawa I would have to say I go with Ibushi. It's not that different. Nawa has a way better hit zone on the Thunder Sack, but overall they are both okay. Now All Mother. All Mother is a bit too much. I would rank it in B. Sometimes I have the feeling, especially this one move when she's dragging her jaw across the floor and then shoots a Thunderball. This one is a bit too much. The Thunderball had insane tracking. The Nova is a cool thing. Don't enjoy this fight more than regular Nawa, but I would fight it every now and then. Now last thing, Geismar Gorm. Highly dislike. The fact that he's so big and he's moving so fast throws me off really hard. He has some nice mechanics, like the intake. When you break enough red parts, he will topple. He's way too fast for his size. His fire attacks on the ground will cause tremor, so even if you block it, you will get tremored and then the explosion afterwards will hit you anyway. He is turning way too quickly. If you want the tail, you have a really hard time getting it. After I got my weapons from him and the whole armor, I never fought him again. That's my tier list for Sunbreak Title Update 2. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing for more content. If you disagree, write a comment down below, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one.